Hey there, Chad here. Thanks for joining me today. This is Ostranauts, and in this episode, I am going to talk about something that is easy to neglect with your character. And if you approach the game as a builder kind of game, it might even be frustrating to you. But that's the social aspect of the game. The designers consider the game to be a space life simulator, I think is how they phrase it. If you're playing on Steam, it's in their description there. You can see what I'm talking about. But essentially, it's not just about building the ship and flying it around. It is about living in space. And one of the things you will run into fairly quickly, as you can see, my character's only a couple days old here. You will start to get these social nags that things are that your character wants to talk to people, or he's feeling intimate, or things like this. In general, that can become really frustrating if you're not aware of some of the ways you can deal with it easily. One of the things that I assumed at first was that when I started getting those nags, I had to manually go and start talking to people and working through this menu and figuring out what to say and have these conversations very manually. And it turns out there is a way to do this a little more automated, and so I'm going to show you that here real quick. Just so we're on the same page, though, what I'm really getting at is as you talk with somebody, you'll get bounce backs of, call and answer kind of stuff, right? You say something, they'll say something back. A lot of times you'll have to wait for them to reply. Sometimes they just walk off. I do think the social portion of this game is a little bit buggy. I could be entirely wrong. And if I am, I apologize, but it feels like a lot of times these will either just stop working for me, or characters will walk off, or I'm just not quite sure what to do to kind of end the madness, so to speak. Usually you will end up with a leave command, and sometimes I can't even get that to work where I can get back to being in real time as opposed to a stop time kind of interaction with something. That can become really frustrating if you feel like you're required to do that at length, and it turns out you're really not required to do that. I just want to finish this particular interaction here. As you can see, this is one of those nags that will come up, and I could flirt with him. I'd rather not. I could insult him. I don't know why I would want to do that. I tend to consider myself a decent person, so I'm just going to hit leave. And this is one of those where it's like, well, what do I do next? I hit leave. I said later. I feel like this is not quite how the game is supposed to work, that maybe that whole dialogue is supposed to stop at that point, and it's not. Okay, but we can click over here and I can just walk away, and eventually it'll return to kind of a normal interface there for me. One of the things is sleep. Your character will need to sleep at some point, and I think this one is very easy to identify on your own. When your character needs to sleep, you right click on a bed and you select sleep, and he will lay down. Now if he has insomnia, and my character does, he may not fall asleep right away. You might have to give it a couple of goes before it actually will work. I did have one playthrough recently where I could not get my guy to ever fall asleep. He did not have insomnia. He would be blacking out, tired, and he would not sleep. There are some debug codes you can use to adjust the sleep that your character needs, and if you need access to those, you can go up to the Discord, and there's plenty of folks that will help you figure out what you need to do there. We're assuming, a couple of folks I talked with, we're assuming whatever I ran into was a bug. It just simply would not sleep, and there was nothing I could do to prevent it. So ultimately, when your character sleeps, this is what happens. They will be unconscious. Now, you might say, how long does he need to sleep? My understanding is they need to sleep 6 to 8 hours a day to be really fully rested for an extended period of time. I don't have any hard data on that. That's from conversations with folks. And you're also probably saying what I said, isn't that a really weird way to spend your time in a game? I think it is, but let's remember that you can hire crew members, and you can be working as a crew member while somebody else, your main character, sleeps. I think that's kind of the intent overall, is you'll have characters that are rotating on and off shift, but when you're just playing with the single character at first, like I am right now, you won't necessarily get that experience. Okay, and he will sleep for quite a while. Eventually he will wake up on his own, and I am only at 4 times speed, but if we were going faster, he would eventually wake up on his own, and then he just kind of stands there and waits for you to do something. I'm going to go ahead and wake him up by hitting cancel action, and we're going to deal with the other social nags that are popping up. I feel I'm too greedy. So you can see what your current tags are by right-clicking on yourself. These are all the things that your character is effectively feeling right now. I'm seeing that, I've got greedy, I've got feeling distanced, my security is unafraid. I don't actually have any of the ones that really, intimacy is desperate. So that's one that I will continue to get nags, and then some other nastiness starts to happen with that one that I just not really interested in going into, but he will decide that he wants to mark things with lewd images, I guess is the best way to explain it. Well, I'm going to try to avoid that. It's just, I don't know, I'm not interested in that part of the gameplay myself, so let's just get these dealt with so that I don't have to mess with them. It's a really simple way to do this, it's just not obvious. So what I'm going to do is go to the same place we go for the black market, which is the commercial district. I'm sorry, not commercial district, the old Emporium, the Mescaform. We're going to head over there, and I go there because there tends to be more people at all times of the day. During the day, there are clearly way more people than at 4 o'clock in the morning, like right now, but as you can see, there's a few people walking around. So I'm going to pause the game, and here's what we're going to do. Now, the timing here is, I guess you could say it's good or bad. I'm going to let my guy take care of his social needs all on his own for the next hour. And the way I do that is I go to roster, and I find the current hour, which is 4 o'clock, and you'll notice that he's set to work. I'm just going to click it once, and it's going to go to free time. As soon as I do that, and if I wasn't paused, as soon as we unpause, he's going to start doing his own thing, as though I have a behavior of auto set on. And he's going to go. I'm going to go ahead and speed up time. He's going to run around, he's going to watch TV, he's going to talk to people, and every time he talks to somebody, it's going to pause, and that could be a problem, right? Because now I'm still having to interact with him all these times. I can click auto pause here, turn it off, resume, and now he will just do his thing for the next hour. If you watch through there, he will gain some responses he can give to people, like he'll learn a dark joke, or he will have a story to share. Things like that will pop up, and you'll see them go down to his portrait in the lower left. A lot of times he's just watching news or watching TV. There's one of those. He can share another story. I don't know that these change a whole lot. I seem to have already had most of those in my list of social interactions, but it does. Apparently it is meant to add the ability to have different responses in different situations with people. So we're just going to let him run around and do his thing for the next another 50 minutes here. He will sit a lot. He will hit the terminals, and he likes to go and watch soap operas a lot, is what I've noticed. Sometimes he'll sit and watch the news, and he does run around and talk to people. Now, real quick, I'm going to pause it, though, and we're going to right-click on him. Whoops. I can find him. That's not me. That's me. So what are we seeing that's different? Anything? So intimacy is no longer red. That's one thing to note. So he's improving that stat on his own. His altruism is no longer greedy. It's selfish. His family is still distanced. But basically, he's going to take care of those needs while we just let him run around and do his thing. And that's really the point here. Go make yourself a cup of coffee or whatever it is that keeps you going. Give it 4 minutes to play through the hour, and you will see that most of these have gone away, and you won't get those nags while you're playing and building and flying around to other ships. I'm going to go ahead and cut away until we're at the end of the hour. Okay, and we're almost at the end of that hour, and I wanted to point out a couple of things here. First of all, his hungry tag was on, and it is still on, so he won't feed himself in this interaction mode, and that's something that's important to know. Also, at the end of the hour, because I had auto pause off, actually I don't even think that's a factor here, but once he would otherwise return to work, he's just going to go static. He's just going to stand still, and you know that if you're not paying attention, you could just have a lot of wasted time where he's just standing doing nothing. So that's something to be aware of. You can also end this early. I'm going to go ahead and turn auto pause back on just so I don't forget to. But you can also end this early by going back to the roster, clicking this once, it'll go to sleep, and clicking it again, it'll go to work. and he will stop running around doing his own thing at this point. So as you can see, he's just standing there now. And that is how you deal with a lot of those social items. Now, one thing to note, he is still hungry, as I mentioned. That didn't fix itself. If we look over here, though, his intimacy, he has a connection now, so that's good. Family, he feels supported. He has purposeful meaning. These are all good things. So we won't get nags on those for a while. But he's hungry right now. We want to deal with that. Now, I can go to this, the bar. I can talk to the bartender, and I can get one of those prepackaged foods, or I can go to one of the food carts. Let's go ahead and go over to this one. I'm going to hit trade. And I get some better food options. They're very expensive. So we'll call them the rations that they can buy. Those are about 100 credits each, $100 each. These are much more, but when you eat these, you get a temporary bonus to some of your abilities. I'm not quite sure what the effect of that is. Let's go ahead and buy this one, and I want to turn off sending it to my barter zone because I want it to be in his hand so he can eat it right now. Otherwise, I will forget. Go in here. Here it is, and we will right-click it and eat it. That'll take just a minute. And okay, we hit one of the items that comes up every once in a while are these parts of the storyline. They're very well written. They occur often. Often isn't fair. Maybe once a day, once a game day. But they are kind of static. There's only a few of these right now. In fact, I've only seen 2. But you can read through that when it pops up. You'll get the clobbered by a memory and something about the dumbest thing you ever said. Memory of the dumbest thing you ever said. I'm sorry, maybe that was what that one was. But anyway, long story short, you can move right through those. So he ate that food, and what we got here is he recently savored a gratifying culinary experience. So if we right-click on him, recently enjoyed good food is a tag he has now. So that's a boon, I guess, at least temporarily, and that will eventually go away. It'll wear off, but he is now no longer hungry, and we can move on to other things. So one other thing I want to talk about is the first aid desk, basically. That's what I call it. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called self-care. When you get there, it is in the commercial district, and there are a couple of things to know about that. It allows you to remove ailments when you have a lot of money. I do not have enough money to do that right now, but the self-care is right here. We're going to right-click that, and you'll notice there's 2 options here. There's trade and then medical services. First, let's look at trade, and it works like any other. I've got things I can buy. I don't think they will buy anything, although I haven't really tested that. There might be something that they would take off our hands, maybe if we had prescription drugs or something. But I can buy things like pain pills, antibiotics, etc. And so you can see there are various things here to help our character move along. Now, the other option is medical services. I'm going to hit 2. This brings up the interaction dialogue where you have some choices of what you want to do. So I can have a scar removed, for instance, that might be causing me chronic pain. And when I confirm that, you'll notice the cost is a lot, prohibitive. I don't have the ability to deal with that just yet, so I would need to leave. But I can also go back and see the menu again. I could do nanorobotic first aid, and I think this helps with things that are probably temporary, like if you have a cough or things like that. And if I hit confirm there, it tells me that would be $2,500. Treat injuries with an injection that stimulates wound healing and immune response. Okay, so you can kind of see what that might affect depending on what your tags are at any particular time. I really don't have a need for that right now, so I'm going to go ahead and leave, and we will wrap this up. So that's how to deal with some of the social nags that come up in the game. Hope you found this helpful, and thank you for joining me, and until next time, fair travels.